Rahul, I'm going to unmute you. That would be your time for your question. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. My question is regarding user stories. Like your agile coaches have said that a user story is a placeholder for conversation with the development team. But sometimes we have to break a user story into more, smaller user stories. So how do we compromise that when you break a user story into a smaller user stories, we do not, nullify, eliminate the flexibility for the development team because sometimes the user story becomes so detailed there is no room left for innovation, and that's what agile is, to be flexible.
Okay, so I think I understood your question, but I'll let Reha or Anand, either one, you can pick if you want to answer this.
So Rahul, yes, you're absolutely right. User stories are meant to be conversation starters. They should not be containing the solutioning for the what you're intending to create or build. When I think what you meant was when you start breaking down user stories into, did you mean smaller tasks?
No.
Assuming that's no.
Smaller user stories, yes. More detailed user stories.
Okay, so you're breaking a requirement down into further user stories.
Yeah.
A user story should be delivering business values, right? So I tell people when you're writing user stories, you should be mindful if it contains more than a couple of scenarios in the acceptance criteria, break it down further, right? But it's important that the way you word your user stories, the way you word your acceptance criteria need to be from a user's perspective. The problem starts coming when you start solutioning it and creating subtasks. You should move away from it. Sometimes for new development teams, it's important to use subtasks to notate steps which are necessary to get to the solution, but the solutioning should not be happening when you are trying to groom the story. And that is where a Scrum Master can help, is where you can facilitate conversations. And when you start noticing that solutioning is happening and they're talking about building, or they're talking about lines of code, or which containers are going to be modified, that's not what that is, should not be documented as part of the story, right? Everybody can have their own notes. That's conversations are great to have, but they should not be part of the body of the user story, whichever system of records you're using. That is where you allow innovation to sustain, is that you do not include them as part of acceptance criteria, because that way you are allowing for the team to be innovative, yet you're clearly defining the criteria on against which the story is going to get accepted by the product owner. So it's a joint effort between the product owner and the Scrum Master to ensure that the team is not using or is not including the solutioning as part of the acceptance criteria.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah, Rahul, does that answer your question?
Yeah, to a good extent.
Anand, what do you feel?
Well, yeah. So yes, what Greg has said, and I'm going to say something a little off here. Innovation, I mean, the word gets overused, right? In its true sense, if your team gets to do one thing, a sprint, that's different and clever and outside the box, that's you're doing great. Okay. The idea with the user stories is that we allow room for innovation, but we cannot guarantee. I'll just make it super short. So don't take too much pressure on yourself to try to have every story to have an innovative solution. So that's not going to be the case. Like if you can get innovative solutions are difficult, and they are very rare, right? So every other sprint, if you can do one or two things innovative, that's a great rate. And so every single story does not have to have some groundbreaking innovative solution. That's a too high of a bar, and don't put, it's kind of an unattainable bar. So don't stress yourself or the team to come up with something absolutely brand new every single story. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Yeah, I think I absolutely agree with you, Anand. Rahul, does that answer your question? Or
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Perfect. So yeah, like whatever Rhea said and Anand said, so combine that technique, apply that, see how that works for you. But if you have more questions after that, definitely feel free to reach out to us. All right, so I think that was our last question, guys. Calling, grooming, refinement, retros, or problem solves, stand-ups. Oh, okay, got you. Rhea, thank you for that little tip in the chat column too.
Hey, I just wanted to tack on to the splitting question. Keep in mind too, you could split it just based on, okay, what is our what is our MVP as far as like what can we demonstrate at the end of this, right? And split it at that point. I think that's kind of where part of your question, like at what point do you split it? Like how can you, what would be a good way to split it if you know you've got to split it? I'm not sure, but I think that's what you said. So I was just, again, think about what you can show. Okay. If you can show it without 5 buttons, but you can show like basic functionality, then split it there and add the 5 buttons in the next sprint. Well, I mean, the point is to get to working software at the end of the sprint.
Yeah.
So if putting the 5 buttons on the page might be a step up, right? So you could split it with not putting the buttons on, but the page is live and it's doing something. It's loading for the user. That was my point. Like, see where you can cut, where you still have something to show at the end, but that it's, the next level. First you give them a skateboard, then you give them a bike, and then you give them a car, right?
Yeah.
And then you give them a trailer, a tractor trailer, and then you give them a plane, right? Just smaller, simple, keep it simple, and then just build from there.
Yeah, absolutely. So deliver like smaller values in increment and then keep adding. Great point, Alicia. Thank you for that. All right, it is 7:30, so it's almost like 50 minutes now. So I guess, guys, this is the end of our session today. But if you guys like the conversations, the Q&A sessions, feel free to reach out to me so we can organize another one of this. But if not, if you have any other topic that you would like our coaches to discuss, feel free to send it my way at rk@myagilegurus.com. So that being said, this is our end of our session today. So thank you, Rhea. Thank you, Anand, for joining today.
Thank you. It was great. Thank you, Rahul.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for the opportunity, Rahul. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. And thank you everyone for attending. If you guys still have more questions, feel free to reach out to us and we'll try to help you after this. All right. That being said, I will see you guys next week. Thank you, guys.
Take care, guys. Bye.